Thank you. Good evening, everybody. We're here for joint Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen meeting to continue the budget discussions and hear from departments and hear from the various departments. I've been asked to advise you that we are not available for viewing on Channel 79 tonight. There's been a little bit of a technological glitch. It's only on YouTube. So if you're having trouble tuning in, go to YouTube. Welcome everybody. I think we're going to start, yes, with the building department. Welcome.
Hey, Bob.
Good evening. My name is Bob Dillon. I'm the building official for the town of Woodbridge. And tell you a little bit about us who maybe I haven't seen last year or not. I know a few new people. But so we do online permitting, and we have a staff of 2. Myself is part-time, and Kathy is our clerk. She's full-time. With that said, we have an operating budget of about $133,000.
Anything you want to highlight in this?
Yeah, I'm going to go through it.
Okay.
So, thank you. So, comparing last year to this year, last year for the entire year, the calendar year, we did 1,300 permits, roughly. In the first 6 months of this year, we issued 910. And the revenue for the year last year, fiscally, was $440,000. And that was for the entire year. But in the first 6 months of this year, the revenue we collected in fees is $327,000. Mostly that is for the Litchfield Turnpike, Bradley Road development for Toll Brothers, which has been keeping us busy. I think that's what I have. Any questions for me?
Anybody have any questions? We like revenue.
Yeah. Well, we call them fees.
Is there a plan to, as far as Toll Brothers is concerned, can we expect them to go as they are is there any, are you aware of any kind of accelerated?
No, the only thing I'm just going to caution, like I've always said, I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping with that, it's been an uptick of, that's the biggest driver right now for our department is Toll Brothers. They're going through the 35 homes first, which is phase 1, and then when they cross the street, it'll be the second phase. They told me that they're concentrating on the first phase for the end of 24, and then they're going to start the second phase in 25. We have a CO that they're speaking to us about for, I believe it's the end of January will be the first one. We kind of did a couple of pre-walkthroughs, and there's 4 that they've queued up that they want to get certificates of occupancy for. The model home, some things have been added on in the back that weren't part of the original that we did for them. I know they've had a lot of foot traffic. Other parts of the town still are pretty robust and busy. We have quite a bit of new homes still for this time of year.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Next is TPZ, ZBA, inland wetlands.
Good luck. It's not that bad. It's never that bad. No.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. So, for the 3, you have all our budgets. The only one that I believe has an increase, or it's not really an increase, it's a placeholder, is for town planning and zoning. We are required to update the town plan of conservation and development every 10 years, so that is due to be updated by no later than May 15th of next year. So we're working on finalizing the RFP that will be going out to get a consultant to work with the Town Plan and Zoning Commission on that. And so there's, within the budget for next year, there's a $20,000 line item in there. We don't know what that will actually end up being based on what comes in through the RFQs. So that's the big things we're doing this year. So anybody have any questions? Other than that, we're just
that the general professional services, Chris,
For which one?
or the RFP for the consultant?
For town planning and zoning, yes. There's also a line item in inland wetlands, and that's where we use special services for the consulting engineer. Sometimes we've actually used that on behalf of the town or townspeople when there's been something that's arisen and we need somebody who can assist in reviewing that, since we don't have a town engineer. But typically when an application comes forward, whether it's to town planning and zoning or to the inland wetlands agency, the way your ordinance is set up for our fee schedule, we are able to collect from an applicant what the cost of having review services by a consulting engineer or a soil scientist or a traffic consultant, so that that burden doesn't fall back on the taxpayer. So.
Same microphone. I had a quick question about the plan of conservation and development you mentioned in RFP, RFQ. Is that something that's handled strictly by TPZ? Is there any role for the Board of Selectmen in that process?
Actually, it traditionally, in the last 2 times that it was done here, it was sent out over the letterhead of the first selectman. So Mika is kind enough to take that role on again. So he will be, it will be coming out through him. The last 2 times that the interviews were done, the first selectman was a participant in the review board who got hired. But the actual plan is done, and by state statute is required to be done by the planning part of the Town Plan and Zoning Commission. That being said, as part of that process, they will be, through themselves and also through their consultant, be touchstoning to all the different boards and commissions within the town, so that the town plan can truly represent what the town, where the town wants to go. Because this is looking forward for the next 10 years, where the town wants to go. And so part of what it identifies is where the town wants to go, but then it also identifies who the stakeholders are within the town that will actually move those different components forward, because it doesn't all fall to the Planning and Zoning Commission to do that. And so you want to make sure that whoever those tasks are falling to are in agreement with the tasks that they're getting assigned, and that they'll be able to actually implement what's needed to accomplish the town plan.
Terrific. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Just to, so the First Selectman's office is issuing the RFP. Obviously, the selection and things of that nature will still go through the normal process, which will, at that point in time, go to the board. But for the RFP, we're just putting it up there. Just clarification.
So,
But a consultant is always hired for the development of the updated plan?
Yes.
it's a very complex thing to, what you need is someone who knows all the component pieces that need to be in there according to state statute. So by hiring a consultant, there are certain, in a sense, boilerplate things that need to be in there. But the important role that the commission does is to ensure that it also reflects the town, so that those individual focal points of the town are all represented within there. Because when they go to adopt regulations, they have to, as part of their adoption process, be able to state that those are in conformance with the town plan of conservation and development. Quite often, when steep grants are coming through, Tony will send a referral down, and we want to be able to say that within the town plan, it is in there that that is a goal that wants to be done, that those funds are being applied for. And so it serves a number of goals within there.
Thank you.
I've done 2 now, this will be my 3rd one with you guys, and I did a couple when I was in Bethany, so.
Glad to have your experience. Thank you.
Oh, it's
I
great.
think it's the 3rd one that I remember you going to. So, yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, have a good evening.
I think we're ready for the police. Welcome.
Good evening, everybody.
See you.
Nice to see you all.
You have both a capital presentation and an operating presentation, correct?
I do, yes.
Yeah.
good evening. There's a lot of familiar faces, obviously, and a couple that I don't know if we've met, but I'm Frank Capio, the police chief, and this is Ron Smith, the deputy chief of police as well. And Commissioner Anastasio and Commissioner Westerfeld as well join us in the back. So we prepared both our capital and our operating budgets for fiscal year 25, recognizing the community's desire to control costs while at the same time ensuring that our town remains safe. Over the past year, increased demands associated with the Police Accountability Act, coupled at the same time with a shortage of candidates to fill vacancies, continue to pose additional challenges for policing, not only here for us in Woodbridge, but across the state and nationwide. All of our personnel continue to exceed the basic state Connecticut mandated training requirements, and as first responders designation for the town, our officers remain certified and proficient in their emergency medical responder skills. Additionally, our civilian dispatchers are all emergency medical dispatch and emergency fire dispatch to enhance and complement the response of our town's emergency responders, police, fire, and EMS as well. We continue to provide a full-time school resource officer over at the Amity High School to continue with fostering positive relationships and to enhance security there. And we remain committed to working in collaboration with surrounding law enforcement agencies in the sharing of all of our resources and pulling together to address criminal activity, for investigation of major crimes. We've been working all together trying to manage ATV street takeovers and the potential for that to happen in different communities like ours. For cybersecurity related and cybersecurity related investigations and any other special events that might arise. So tonight we have 5 capital budget projects that we'd like to seek funding for fiscal year 25 to ensure safe and efficient operations. So the first one is body worn and dashboard camera system. And this request is in the amount of $50,595. It pertains to the annual funding necessary for year 3 of a previously approved 5-year replacement and upgrade project of our department's dashboard and body-worn camera system. The use of the body-worn cameras and patrol vehicle dashboard cameras is required to maintain our compliance with statutory mandates pursuant to the Public Act 20-1 and Act concerning police accountability. So some background information on that for some of the newer members. So long before it became necessary, our department was using, we first started with vehicle cameras, dashboard cameras, and then we progressed over the years to body cameras as well. But over time, they were aging and failing and out of warranty, and then when the new mandates came out, there was a lot of other stipulations, and because of the age of our equipment, it wasn't able to be modified to comply with the requirements. So 2 years ago, to ensure our compliance, we sought and granted approval for all new replacement and upgrade of our camera systems. It was decided that we went with Axon, which is, you probably see often, it's pretty much used nationwide and really used across the state here. And we have a completely integrated and warranty system of 10 new dashboard cameras and 25 body cameras. And it also included adequate cloud-based storage and licensing for sharing of information electronically with courts and other jurisdictions as well. With the new program we have, there was a cycle of equipment refreshes and upgrades. So at year 1, they gave us all new body cameras and all new dashboard cameras. And when we hit 2.5 years, they replaced the body cameras again, and at year 5, again for the body cameras and for the dashboard cameras, we got new ones at year 1, and they replaced those again at the end of the contract at year 5. So to maintain our compliance and continue and remain current with the ongoing technology advances that keep coming out, it's our intention to continue with this replacement cycle once again upon the completion of year 5 and just progress in that manner. want me to move on to the next
Yes,
one? Or
we'll do all the capital and then we'll
Okay.
do the questions.
The next project that we propose is pertains to our vehicles, and it's all about maintaining a safe and reliable fleet. We're seeking to purchase two 2024 Ford Utility Police Interceptor SUVs equipped with hybrid engines, both which will go right into our patrol division, so they'll be more black and white cars with the graphics. These cars, they'll be replacement cars, they won't be additional. So when each of the new vehicles is put into service or retire another older vehicle that has higher mileage, so we're not increasing our overall number of our fleet when it all shakes out. It's our intention to continue with the Ford SUVs. They've proven very reliable over the years, but also they allow us to retrofit and keep reusing some of the equipment, even though sometimes it might need some modifications or some transfer kits when those are available. Depending on the availability of the performance of the hybrid that we're just putting into patrol, that will be coming out into patrol actually in the next few weeks. If all goes well with that and we're able to get more hybrids come July when we order again, we plan to go with them to assist with fuel consumption and reducing emissions. And a big thing for us is engine idling hours, so that should reduce that, which will in turn lower our maintenance and the charges associated with that. Right now, we have two of our emergency vehicles that have an excess of 100,000 miles on them, and four other ones that have in excess of 85,000, and those are the actual just the odometer miles. Another factor that comes in on the mechanical side is the idling hours. So 1 hour of idling time equates in the mechanical field to 33 odometer miles. So, looking at that, if you want to look at some of the idling hours, as far as the engine wear, that's like over 400,000 miles on some of the engines there. Any patrol vehicles that were granted approval to buy in fiscal year 25, by the time they come out, it'll be the winter of that year. Just like now, the one we got for last year is just fine, with delays and shipping delays and manufacturing delays and equipment delays. That was just finished being outfitted last week and just went today for the graphics, so it'll finally be on the road probably in another week or two, but that was ordered last July. So it's really, more miles keep going on and on. And when we get rid of the cars that we do decommission, we give them over to other departments in town to use in the non-emergency role. So we recently gave one to Human Services in July, and this vehicle that will be getting decommissioned in the next week or two will go over to Animal Control. But both of those, they already have a lot of miles. One is 95,000. And then, like I said, with the ongoing repair bills and inflation and the prices, hopefully the idling time will cut down on that. And another thing, just for those that aren't aware, we always keep two of our older cars and we use those at private jobs. So they get a lot of idling time, obviously, because they're with the lights on. But it's a big revenue generator as well for the town, because the contractors pay for those vehicles and there's a fee associated with that. And in fiscal year 23, the cars used on private duty generated over $138,000 in revenue for the town. So it's worth it for us to keep those older cars and put them out in that regard there. Third project we have related to our building security and our door security, and it's in association with a previously approved project. We installed an S2 door locking system to enhance our building security. This funding request would be the last portion of that project. It's $7,500, and it's for the installation of the final remaining access points. When the program was implemented, the system we bought was a 16-port panel. And so little by little we've been filling it up, and there's just a couple remaining ports, so we want to optimize and maximize the use of that, so that will finish that. And before we were pretty much operating on a standard key system, which really didn't wasn't very secure, and it's very hard to be managed, so we want to finish that project up. The next project related to our mobile data terminal, so all of our patrol vehicles are equipped with mobile data terminals. We refer to them as MDTs, for short there, and they permit the prompt sharing of criminal justice related information and intelligence with our officers when they're out on patrol, so that's how we get it to them. It's a secure way of doing that. Some of that information includes like state and national missing and wanted persons, stolen cars, criminal records, arrest photos, Department of Corrections information, and materials of that nature. Our MDTs are also set up that they integrate with our existing records management software, so it facilitates electronic dispatching, GPS mapping, interoperability between different agencies. They can chat back and forth and share information online right from the cars. But an important feature of it is that it allows the officers to write reports and do a lot of paperwork right from their cruiser and not have to come into the building and use a workstation indoors. So it keeps them out on the road and visible. Our current MDTs are all pretty much considered end of life. They're no longer being produced and they're not warranty supported. And a lot of the parts are no longer being even manufactured. We've been repairing a lot of them with spare parts, and over the years, some of the ones we used were replaced years ago with refurbished units, so they didn't have much of a warranty, and the warranties are expired. So for fiscal year 25, we're seeking to purchase 9 new MDTs to replace our aging devices. It's all under the state of Connecticut bid contracting prices. They all have a 5-year warranty. The cost for each unit, including installation, is $4,748. So it brings it to a total cost of $42,730. So that'll make the fleet all uniform. Everything will be the same and up to date, and good to go for a while. And the last capital project had to do with our radio replacement project. And this is funding request is in the amount of $64,957, and that's the first year payment of a 5-year lease purchase plan for the project that was proposed in fiscal year 24 and approved by the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance this past September. It involves the replacement and enhancement of our police department's of our handheld radios, the portable radios that the officer carries, and also the in-car mobile radios. So just a little background for those that weren't here when that project was presented last year. The current radios that we're using were purchased back in 2012, and they're out of warranty, and that they obviously exceeded their average life expectancy, which is about 10 years. And because of different malfunctions and problems that we've been having, on occasion they require the removal from service. Because they're no longer supported by Motorola warranty, the cost to repair one, besides being timely, it's very costly. The radios, both the mobile and the portable radios, pretty much for the officers, a lifeline when they're out in the field, because it's the only way they could communicate to each other and back to headquarters. And there's also times when we're working with other agencies that are on different frequencies, more and more so now, because everyone kind of running a little bit short, so everybody's trying to help each other. But for us, the radios we had, because they're older, they're only capable of operating on 2 of 3 radio frequencies. The new radios that we will be getting will operate on all 3 frequencies, so they'll be foolproof for the future. We'll be good to go. We'll have all band operational capabilities throughout the region. And those are all the capital projects.
Does anybody have questions on any of the capital presentations made by the chief? I actually have one quick question. Chief, just remind me, do we have a dedicated charging station for the hybrid vehicles at the police station? Or
no, but the hybrid doesn't need a dedicated station. So the hybrid is hybrid, so it charges itself.
It's not a plug-in.
It's not an electric.
No, but I'm remembering this incorrectly then. We did not install a charging station when we did the canopy, correct?
No,
Okay, I was really asking.
no, we would not. But these cars wouldn't require, the
I
hybrids
understand.
wouldn't
Yeah,
require.
Right.
I know that. Other
Okay.
questions?
Yeah, Chief, what, the MBTs that are at their end of life, how long, what is the length of service of these units?
Well, the warranties are 5 years.
Yeah.
And we
But we've been
usually
working
stress it
on
past
right?
that, so somewhere between 5 and 8 years, I would say.
Yeah.
But the problem we ran into years past, some of the ones that they purchased, we had some new ones, and then for cost savings, at one point we purchased some refurbished ones, so they had less of a warranty.
Yeah.
But, 5 years of the warranty, but we stretched them as far as we could.
Thank you.
Other questions on the capital portion?
Do we have any hybrid vehicles currently, or would these be the first?
No, this will be the first one for patrol. We had one, and we couldn't get one that was patrol. We got approval for one. There were none available that were patrol ready, that could go with the patrol. They have different standards for those, but there wasn't one we could get for an administrative vehicle, and we did. And 5,000, actually I had it, 5,000 miles into it. I had an accident, but not my fault. I got rear-ended on the highway. And believe it or not, the car was totaled. It was
Should've called the
5,000 miles. So, yeah. But we had one, but this will be our first one for patrol. We're anxious to see how it works out, and we anticipate good things. We heard good things about it, but it would be nice to see it.
Chief, are these purchases primarily made through the state contract?
Yes. Yep.
It is.
Anything else before we move on to operations?
Chief, what's the average age of the fleet, the cruisers, the police interceptors?
I'm trying to tell you exactly. Let's see. Right now, the ones that we have are, some are 2014, 2015, and then right up. We have one 2024, which will be going into service now. And we have one from the year before. So, but going back, all the way back to 2014, I think there's even a spear car that's a 2011.
Yeah, Crown
Some old-
Victoria, is that for Crown Victoria?
And when's the last time we were able to get one? Because I know we've been waiting on this one for over a year, right?
Yes, but we only have funding for one. So I actually placed an order with Tony's permission a little bit in advance to get it in the work, because we knew there'd be so much of a delay. And that was in June, and it just got delivered before Christmas.
7 months.
Which is backed up, yeah.
Got it.
So, yeah.
Thanks, Chief.
There's quite a wait, yeah.
Anything else? Okay, let's hear on
Thank
the
you.
operations side.
Okay, for the operational side, as always, the majority of our operating budget is associated with personnel and salary-related contractual costs for both our police officers and our civilian dispatchers. And it correlates with their respective collective bargaining unit agreements. And then the remainder of the budget, the smaller portion is associated with our operating expenses. So beginning with the contractual portion, I'll note some of the notable changes the notable proposals that we have. So the first one you'll see is in line 50220 of the police officer salaries, and you'll see a substantial increase there. So this line, a little bit of explanation on this line now includes a transfer of funding for one existing officer who was previously funded by the Blue Beach Board of Ed for the past several years, and now that's back into our budget. And so that's an increase right there of over $75,000 or so. And then also included in this line is a proposed funding for the hiring of one additional patrol officer to enhance our operational safety, reduce overtime, and increase efficiency and safety. Since 2018, for some of you that might not have been here or involved in the process, since 2018, funding reductions have resulted in the elimination of 3 full-time positions for us. So we lowered our staff from 26 down to 23. during that same period, from 2018 to 2023, our call volume has decreased 16% approximately. And coupled with that, the Police Accountability Act, like I just mentioned as part of my capital presentation, has tasked us with many more mandated requirements that we're, devoting man hours to. So concerning to us is that operating with a current level of only 23 sworn, it often results with us only having 2 officers on patrol at one time. And, as we do our best to cover the 19.2 square miles that the town encompasses. So the Deputy Chief has some additional statistics regarding that we'd like to share with you.
Thank you, everyone. So I conducted a study to see how efficient we were with only having the staffing that we have now. So during the calendar year 2023, members of the Woodbridge Police Department responded to numerous calls for service proactive encounters that require a minimum of a 2-officer response. So throughout 2023, our officers were engaged in 2,996 incidents, or 10.18% of our call volume, which require a 2-officer minimum. And that goes from anything from a 911 hang-up to a burglary, gunshots, and I actually broke it down by category. I subsequently conducted a comprehensive review of our daily detail activity forms from January 1st through December 31st of 2023 to ascertain how many shifts per year were patrolled by only 2 police officers. So we're a 24/7 department, so there's a total of 1,095 shifts per year. During 2023, there were only 2 police officers on patrol on 486 shifts, which is a total of 44.38% of the time. So, concerning the numerous calls that we've had throughout the year where there's been insufficient coverage and staffing, 2 officers responded to a call for service require a 2-officer minimum. The town's left unprotected. So what's happening is when these 44% of the time when we have 2 police officers working, all it takes for us is to have 1 bad car accident or 1 domestic violence complaint or 1 arrest, and the rest of the town is unprotected. What we've had to do on several occasions is to contact other towns for assistance, and a lot of times they can't respond to us. So our response time is being greatly decreased. And most police departments take pride on a pretty fast response time. And there are times where we have had a car accident, we've had an armed robbery, we've had a medical, and we can't respond in an effective manner with only 2 people working. So that being said, in our opinion, these circumstances present a major safety concern to our residents as well as our people working. I think it's detrimental to our residents and our officers on patrol, because I think we're doing it with smoke and mirrors right now. And thankfully, no one's been seriously injured or no one in the community's been seriously affected. But it's an incident waiting to happen with only 2 officers working. The addition of 1 police officer, and when you have a department of only 23 officers, would greatly enhance our ability to provide more efficient service. And even if that means on 20 shifts per year, 25 shifts per year, there's 3 officers working, there's an extra officer. It would definitely improve the quality of life to our residents and the safety of our officers. And going into 2023, just looking at our call volume, a couple incidents that we've increased in percentage-wise. We had a 64% increase in burglaries, a 22% increase in mental health issues, a 300%, it's only from 1 to 4 in armed robberies, and a 39% increase in stolen motor vehicles. So a lot of these incidents that we're responding to require 2 officers, and what we do is we respond and hope that we just don't get another major call while those officers are investigating the case. So to get one officer would be huge for the department.
Is there a sergeant or somebody assigned to each shift, so at night, so if you have two of them on patrol, is there somebody or somebody that can also respond or help?
No, at times, but
I'm just, you know,
at times there are. So we have a minimum staffing requirement of 2. At times there are a sergeant, but there's often times, many times that there's not, because there's not a sergeant, not people to fill that many shifts.
no, I'm just curious,
No, that's-
it's just, yeah.
Yeah, no, so there is not. No. And I just want to say that we understand that funding is challenging right now, and that we're all trying to do more with less, but we just want to convey to you our importance for the community and for our staff of how important we feel that it is for the safety of everyone. And, one additional officer will help. So that's our proposal in that.
Chief, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So I know you mentioned that the officer from Beecher is back fully in this line item.
Yes.
Is that person is now also available? So you're trying to go an additional officer above that number, so that person's available and another officer to make 22? Is that?
No,
Okay.
that's to go from 23 to 24. So we always had a total of 23, but one was at Beecher. So we didn't have him for the 40 hours that he was at Beecher. But we always did have access to him if we needed to pull him, like in emergencies and stuff. And we always had access to him, and he would always be willing to work, actually.
Right, but you couldn't schedule him.
Right, so we couldn't schedule, but he always worked. He would, if he wanted, he'd fill in shifts after, and he was always accessible to us. So, yes, it did help having him, and he in that position filled the slot in patrol for now. But it still leaves us with 23. And, when we were at 26 for many, many, many years, it was proven to be a lot more efficient and reduce overtime. So that's, we're looking to start going back to that direction, and just the addition of one officer would really help.
And so that total, just so I understand, because in the budget detail here, it still says 22 sworn personnel, 6 sergeants, 6 patrol. But in fact, it's a higher number, your proposed number.
Yes.
Okay. And it's 24, you said?
Yes. 23.
Do you have an estimate as to how much overtime reduction the increase of one patrol officer
I
would
don't
yield?
have the reduction, but I could tell you how much that we've used so far, and I guess conversely, if we figured out. But just for patrol staffing wise, just to, not all the other related overtime generators, but just to cover patrol. So for the first 6 months of fiscal year 24, so from July 1st to December 31st, 56% of our overtime that was expended went to patrol coverage. And last year, for fiscal year 23, for the entire year, 49% went. So this year was a little bit unique. We had a lot of vacancies and that we're trying to fill, retirements, resignation, injuries, and so on and so forth. So it made it a little bit higher, but last year, to look at that, it was 49%, so half the overtime was going towards just ensuring staffing,
Thank you.
minimum staffing.
And if I could say one thing, when we have 2 officers working, a lot of times those are 2 patrolmen that are working, and one of those officers are called an officer in charge, an OIC. So that officer gets compensatory time when they work. So what happens is that when that officer gets compensatory time, that means that officer now is building time where they can take time off. And sometimes when they take time off, that even causes more overtime, because now that officer is entitled to get that compensatory time off, and it's just a vicious cycle.
Yes, just to bring home that point, would you be good enough, or the commission be good enough, to put together some information that correlates the overtime to the number of officers? So for the period of time, could you take a look at when you had full 26 or when you had a greater number than you have, and as opposed to now, and just correlate that? I know in looking at a lot of things that I looked at, I didn't see a correlation with more people means less overtime, and I just want to see understand if that's the case. I want to make sure we understand that that's the case.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Other questions on that point, or Chief, is there anything else you wanted to highlight in your operations budget?
Just a couple other things. One, just another significant increase that was proposed was 50430. So I just want to call that to your attention. That's the police overtime
Right.
line, so I know that's
That's
something that
tied
needs to
into
be
that
discussed.
conversation, right?
Yes,
Exactly.
it's part of all that. But, it does, unfortunately, overtime is a requirement as we're a 24/7 operation. And it fluctuates both with the timing of incidents, late calls, crimes, storms, and also the level of staffing that's available at that time. Diminished staffing increases the number of times that we need to pay overtime. If we have enough people working, and we don't have to call someone in, but when we're short, we do, and we have to maintain adequate staffing levels and honor various contractual obligations at the same time. I'm not going to assure you that the deputy chief and I monitor the overtime expenditures, very closely, and there's been no really frivolous or unnecessary expenditure of overtime. Only what's necessary to ensure that we're ready and prepared to deliver the best police services that we could and maintain all our obligations. That one, and then on the operational side of the operational budget, the data processing line, we increased that by 8,350, and this line reflects the sharing of services between the town hall and the police department for the services associated with our IT infrastructure all around. And the finance director and I work closely together with the guidance of VNCORD, who's the town's IT support company, and continue our planning and prevention efforts to minimize the town risk and vulnerability of being compromised with a cyber attack. We share the cost. We have an annual block of hours that's associated with our IT support, and so that's something that we work together on. And then there's also a portion of that that's specific directly to the police department, and it's mandated that we're required to do different cyber-related things to ensure security of records and so on and so forth. So that was an increase there. And then I just want to note a decrease in there's two lines there, 54210 and 54220. So the first one there, communication telephones, that's 54210. We were able to decrease that by $9,000. And then the next line, 54220, communication cell phone. So we recently changed our cell phone provider from Verizon to AT&T FirstNet. FirstNet gave us better overall coverage, and they also gave us law enforcement priority calling bandwidth to ensure our accessibility during times of a crisis. Public Works also did the same. So AT&T was already our provider for the modems, and those are associated with providing our connectivity to the cars, so the NBTs I spoke about. So working with Tony, we were able to reclassify these two lines. So one line was decreased by $9,000, and then the second line there, the cell phone line, went up by $5,000, but overall, there was an overall savings of $4,000 to the town. So I just wanted to reflect that. And then the decrease in our computer line, remarkably 55111. We were able to decrease that by $8,000 this year. And this line, for those of you that looked here prior, was new to our budget in fiscal year 23, and it was added in alignment with the IT infrastructure upgrade that we did townwide. And we made great progress with that, and over the last couple of years, we were able to replace a lot of our equipment and then a lot of our workstations and things of that nature. So now we're caught up a little bit and we're able to get on that cycle. So the costs associated with that showed a decrease. And then the final two things were really capital machinery. That's our annual replacement of one of our tasers. When they run out, when they get to the end of life or the warranty expires, taser will not repair them. So we have one that's out of service now. When you send it back, they're not repairable, so they kind of forced after a while to buy a new one. So that's a kind of a circular thing that we do every year.
Business model.
Wow.
And the last one was just, there was a little bit of an increase in the capital furniture line, 57470. And the impetus for that was that we're looking to get some new signage for the police department. The sign out front on the building is pretty much rotted and somewhat embarrassing. It's time to move forward with replacing some of that stuff. So that's pretty much it.
Questions?
I have a question.
Thoughts?
One, item 55121, I may be mistaken or may have misunderstood some Beecher Road school emails I've received, but I thought DARE was no longer an active program at Beecher. Am I-
Yes, no, it was suspended and is no longer.
Okay.
And they're going to try a new, different approach to that. And actually, the superintendent and I had discussed that not too long ago. Yes, so the DARE program itself is not, but that line was not all, it funded some of the DARE supplies, but we also use that as our community policing line. So to buy giveaway stuff or promotional items or things of that nature. And we sponsor, every year we sponsor like an annual picnic for the seniors. That all came out of that DARE line, so it was kind of a community policing line. And we'd like to keep it where it was. It's not really that big of a line, but we want to be, over the years, since DARE took such a major portion of that money, we were never really able to buy as much stuff as we'd like to be able to, promotional items to promote safety and security and so on and so forth. So our intention is to use that for community policing.
See Tony making a note already. I'm sure
Yeah,
it's
change
maybe
the
to
title
change
of
that
that
title.
line, yeah.
I dare you to do that.
Can
Okay.
I ask just one more question, Susan? You mentioned some really interesting stats, and I'm just wondering if you have any broader context. The 64% increase in burglaries, 22% of mental health issues, et cetera. Is that on trend with the region, with the state? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, during, regarding the state, some people report that crime is down, and in some aspects it is, but in certain things, like especially property crimes, like larcenies from motor vehicles, larcenies, frauds. And in this town here, we have frauds that are going through the roof. So those types of things are on the increase, whereas sometimes there's other things that are on the decrease. We highlighted the ones that are on the increase, but not everything is increasing.
Thank you. And thank you for your service.
Chief, can I ask a question about 50330? The adopted budget was only 19. We went to 39, yet the 25 request is back down to 20,000. Was there some kind of significant jump that was a one-time thing for last year only in terms of repair?
So what's the line number?
So 50330 part-time maintenance. The 2024 projected number was almost twice what the adopted budget was, and then next year's request is back down to quote-unquote normal. I was just wondering what that one-year jump for this year was. Do you have any idea?
Yeah, that, because our fleet, we've been buying less and less cars, and so the mechanic was putting in a lot more hours. So we were able, actually, last year we proposed an increase in that, so that was the increase, because to cover that. So this would be right in the line.
So we're not expected to continue that level of maintenance going forward?
No, it used to be like 12 to 15 hours, so we were on the low side. He was spending like 15 to 18 hours. So that's why we bumped it up, and he's been staying within that range now. And hopefully with this hybrid and maybe another hybrid that'll taper off.
And is that's someone in-house that we use, or does, you have,
Yes, we have one part-time mechanic, and he works, 12 to 15 hours a week, 15 hours per week.
Thanks, Chief, appreciate it.
Chief, on your police officer line, so that anticipates one new officer as well as the person from the school, correct? So.
Yeah, so that includes the one from the school and an additional officer.
Right, and do those things also then affect the budget, the benefits type lines that are much smaller, things like the holiday pay line and the incentives and those different lines get bumped up when you add people in?
Yes, that's just the base salary line there, and then the rest of it ripples throughout.
Well, it's also in benefits when we get to that budget.
Okay.
We'll have money in benefits as well.
All right, thank you.
Chief, are you fully staffed now, or are you still a little understaffed?
So right now, we were budgeted for 23, we were down, this, as you can see, the overtime was through the roof, but it was just because we had 4 vacancies between retirements and resignation. We had workers' comp, somebody out in extended medical leave. At one point, we were down 8, but happy to say we've hired 3 new certified guys that are coming on, and they're actually all ready to go out as part of minimum manpower on their own. There's just one, we're waiting for the state just to send one more document. Their tasks are all completed and the training's all completed. So with that said, we'll have 22, and we have 1 vacancy that we're working on filling out. So we're up to snuff except for 1 to get us to 23.
It was a trying year, because this year we were down over 33% of our personnel.
Yes,
And
it's
looking ahead to the future, do you have anybody who's going to be retiring, and are you thinking about anybody who retires, thinking about filling those slots and everything else?
Yeah, so we have people that are coming up, a couple that are coming up that are eligible to retire that have been there long timers, and we also have when you hire certified people, it's a good thing. It's a quick fix. They bring a lot of experience, in all, and it's good. But some of them sometimes come they're kind of on the second bite of the apple. Some of those guys have a pension already, so they've done 25 years or 20 years or whatever, and then they're working. So they could really leave at any time. It's the point I'm trying to make. So we never know. And then when we only have 23, it doesn't leave us with what happened. We don't have much of a buffer. So if there's 3 guys on a shift and 1 books off or somebody's out injured, we still get by with 2 and not have to pay overtime. But there's no buffer, and so when we got like the deputy said, we really got. It was unique this past year, just perfect storm and a lot of things, but challenging. But everybody stepped up, we got through it, and getting prepared for the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is the Board of Education. I see everybody's here.
You asked that we start with our capital.
Capital
and then
move into operations.
Yep, so for our capital plan, we're gonna have Vito on hand. So we brought our facilities.
You handed out your updated one, the updated information this evening.
We do. Would you like me to project it?
We handed it
We
out
handed it out.
to
Okay.
the board, so they have the updated version.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
You wanna bring a chair up, Vito? Yeah, why don't you, oops, sorry, because I do my end. Okay. Why don't you wait until after cap? Perfect, thank you. Your arms are ready. Thank you for having us tonight.
I'm going to just begin, and then I'm going to hand over the microphone. Just give you a little introduction. Good evening to everyone watching, to the fine people who volunteer around this table. I want to thank you for the opportunity to meet with all of you this evening to present the Woodbridge School District's 2024-2025 proposed capital and operating budgets this evening. For those of you who may not know me, which would be strange, but my name is Lynn Piasek. I'm honored to serve as the chair of the Woodbridge Board of Education. With me this evening is our wonderful vice chair, Stephen Lawrence, and the members of the district's very dedicated and talented team, Superintendent Ron DeTenza, Director of Business and Operations, Donna Coonan, and our wonderful Facilities Director, Vito Esparra. It has been the mission of the Woodbridge School District to provide a dynamic educational environment that challenges and empowers students to persevere as innovators and collaborators in preparation for their role as responsible citizens of the world. Today, Beecher Road School is providing quality educational experiences to 876 students as of today, from pre-K through grade 6. And that's 13 more than last year at this very exact time, and a total of 39 more than in January of 2021. So while most districts in the state of Connecticut are seeing a decline in their enrollment, Beecher's enrollment continues to grow. And this is a testament to our students, to our teaching community, and to the support from the community at large. People come to Woodbridge for our schools, and amazing things are happening at Beecher Road School. Just to name a few, once again, the students in the Woodbridge School District have scored #1 in DIRG B on the Smarter Balance tests in both English language arts and math. And we have been named one of 2 Apple Distinguished Schools in the state. So these are really remarkable things that are happening. And in terms of our volunteers at the school, in November, our Board of Education was presented with a K Board of Education Leadership Award. So learning and excitement is indeed flourishing in the classrooms in our district schools. As Board of Education member, as the current chair of the board, and as a former Beecher Road School teacher for many decades, I believe that the budget you will see this evening meets the goals of the district, in addition to addressing the high expectations of the Woodbridge community in maintaining the standards for excellence in education. Tonight you will be presented with a budget that reflects 3.89% increase. In large part, this proposed increase reflects expenses required by contract or statute and the many unfunded state mandates that are becoming more and more demanding with every passing year. It is based on the known circumstances at this moment in time in regard to our student population, which we know changes each year in terms of our staffing and in terms of the costs that we are aware of at this moment. Salaries and benefits represent over 81% of the entire budget because education is a human resource job. There is no doubt that quality education demands highly trained and effective professionals who continually work at improving their craft and their instructional competencies. Quality education also requires a safe, a healthy, and a clean environment, and quality education is dependent on having the resources and materials to provide enriching experiences. The Woodbridge School District has always been proclaimed the gem of our community. All the years I've been there, we've always said, what a treasure. And we have so much to be proud of. Historically, it has been the mantra of the board and the administration to consistently improve the quality of education that supports the mission, the vision, and the goals of the district while respecting the community of taxpayers. And I, for one, I'm a really firm believer in that. There are many things that we would love to have. There are wonderful things that we could have in our school that we don't have because we respect the taxpayers. And we have to, all these things that you say, I really want that. The Board of Education looks at it and says, what do we really need to provide the best education for the kids? In light of the school district's documented educational success, it's my hope that both the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance will support and approve the proposed budget of the Woodbridge Board of Education. Along with the continued support of the taxpayers and the Woodbridge community, I'm confident that Beecher Road School will continue to build on its great successes and excellence. And I thank you for the time that you put in to look at our budget and to consider what's really important for the kids of Woodbridge. So I'm going to turn over the mic to our wonderful superintendent, Von Tenza, and Donna Kuhn. And I'll step back, but I'll be here.
We are going to start this evening as requested with reviewing the capital budget. And, we're going to go through this. Both of these, we know you have in advance. We could probably talk for 5 hours on each of these. We won't.
But don't.
No. We will provide broad overviews and then see where your questions lie and address your questions. So first I'd like to thank, our new first selectman, Mika. He asked and he came to our building last week. He wanted to meet our entire administrative team. He did. We walked him up and down the hallways, and he saw learning and students and our building in action, and I even showed him some of our warts that we do have in our building. So I appreciate the fact that you wanted to come firsthand and meet our leaders and see our teachers and students. Thank you for that. I know we've had many people, Sheila has been in our building often, Beth has been, like many of you are family members and parents. So it was nice to have that interest and commitment. Anybody can come at any point, just ask. So I'm actually going to let Donna start this, and Vito can chime in if there's any specific questions that you might have as
Okay.
well.
So we'll just walk through the projects that we think are important in terms of improving or maintaining our building over the next 6 years. The first three that are highlighted in green on this handout, we're just here to say thank you because they've all been taken care of with the most recent vote and approval for bonding for our partial roof, our parking lot repaving, and some site improvements. So we can skip past those 3 pages. And we'll start with, I'll have you start with the art room cabinets, flooring from the band room, and special education room.
And we did put these in a very broad order of importance, kind of group them.
Yeah, this is the final of the 9x9 asbestos tile left in the building. We currently have our maintenance company come in, we check it every 6 months, so we do keep an eye on it, but this project itself would eliminate not only the final 9x9 tiles, it would also allow us to replace this casework in the art room because it's with the 9x9, so for us to pull the casework out, we'd have to do an abatement either way, so it's kind of a package deal where if we want to actually fix this rusted casework, we need to finish the tile work. And part of the reason it's all bundled together is, after looking at the project several different ways, financially it's cheaper to do all the abatement in one big project as opposed to many separate projects. These are all located generally in the same area of the South School, so this would not really affect the North School, but it's that 1970s edition of the last pieces that are of the flooring that are still on our asbestos list.
Okay. Next we have, I'll let you do the cracked tiles.
Yeah, so our A-wing in particular, we've had humidity issues over the years in different parts of the school. The A-wing in particular was hit the hardest for many years. And we have several classrooms that we've been, piecemealing, putting the tiles down, replacement tiles, or buying new replacement tiles. But for one of our classrooms of several years back, we were able to do a tile replacement with a moisture barrier. So that made a huge difference in not only like the musty feeling in the room because of the moisture barrier, but it also helped the tiles hold up over the years. So we had a lot of success with that. So this would allow us to hit just the worst few rooms that come up every summer, and hopefully eliminate the moisture problem up in, at least in those rooms in the A wing.
Great,
Can I
thank
ask
you.
a quick question while we go through it? Is that appropriate? So we're talking about the A wing, and that flooring was replaced during the renovation project?
Not all of it. So when they did the casework for the sinks up in the A, B, C wing, they did like around the new casework, and they did by the window walls. A lot of the main classroom areas were left intact, so some of this, you know.
So this is from that previous abatement where they took out the asbestos?
Yes, for the most part, it should all be
Yeah.
from them, that predates me, but like these floors, at least in my, past 10 years there, they haven't been replaced from the renovation.
So A-wing's not gonna need asbestos abatement though?
It should not, because the abatement was done, anytime we do a flooring thing, though, we'll bring them in and test it just to make sure there's nothing, no surprises, but ideally, no.
Okay, and then the other question I had from the previous one, the flooring and casework replacement, that's all down in S wing, right?
Well, yeah, even further south, so South Art Room down, so this is the band area by that loading dock, South Assembly area, yeah, so not in the S wing itself with the 5th and 6th grade are, but
And that's all flooring that potentially does have asbestos.
in the S wing itself, or?
Well, you're saying
These
part of
ones,
it.
yeah, the ones in the previous sheet, the 9x9s, yes, those we've tested
And under that sink has some asbestos
Yeah,
too.
yeah, the glue, the tile, and then, yeah, some of the older sinks have an insulated undercoating that tests for it, that to replace those, you'd want to have them.
It'd be great to get that done. And are you projecting to do that over the summer, the same time we're doing the roof, or maybe? Maybe.
With all of the programs out, it would be perfect
Would be
timing.
ideal,
We're
with the building empty.
repolling all of our summer programs. I've been working on meeting with jump buyers on Monday, up at Amity. It really would be perfect timing.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Yeah, why don't you continue with the capital?
Okay, so the next item is our fire panel needs to be upgraded. It's about 27 years old and they no longer make new parts for it, and our person that maintains it has told us they don't really even have, refurbished parts for it anymore, and they recommend that we replace it as soon as possible. I don't know if you've seen it when you come in the south entrance, there's a glass case with a little red phone that looks like you might be able to call Batman with or something, so it's pretty old.
Is that compatible with all the other devices in the school? So that you don't have to go through and you don't have to upgrade any of the devices, or do you have to reprogram the devices? As part of it, normally when you do a new panel, now you have to reprogram, you gotta test every device and everything. Is that included in here?
I'm not 100% sure, but this quote itself did come from our company we use to maintain it, so they, I would go reread the quote, but I would assume that would be, all in to get the new panels.
I'm just curious.
Good question.
Peter, you're on for the...
Oh, right, okay, yes, our playground surface refurbishment. So we've been patching a lot of this in-house under the swings, there's different pieces of equipment where kids drag their feet, so a lot of the rubber surfacing comes up. So there's some that we can do in-house, but there's some cracks and other things that are large-scale repairs. I've had, the company out, the installer, they've looked at it, and they basically said you need to pull up and put a new layer down, and it's, a large job that somebody, a specialized technician would want to do that. So, yeah.
But our recommendation is maybe 2 years out when we know for certain if we will or won't be doing anything to the building. We'll continue with the patching for a couple of years, but maybe 2 years out, we might be looking to replace that.
So this is a placeholder for budget purposes? Okay.
And along that line, we have some dilapidated cabinetry in the west casework in classrooms. And we were thinking it would be good to maybe just chip away at it 1 or 2 rooms a year until we can get it done. How many rooms total do you think are left, Vito, to do?
Under a dozen.
Is it a total under?
Yeah, it's around a dozen, because we finished the D wing, we just have one left in D wing, and then there's just like a smattering around the S wing, so under a dozen left.
So, yeah, it's pretty shabby. And yeah, it would be great if we could plan for the replacement of those. The next item is, the school has not been painted in a long time. We have, we kind of fight the wet and the mildew and that fascia board around the outside. Lots of times the animals and things can get in there and make a home. But again, we think that 2 years out, maybe once we determine if there will be any chopping into the school in any way or anything, that might be the time to tackle that. And we think, this quote's a little bit old that we got. My instinct is it's a bit high, but 2 or 3 years down the road, we should know what we're in for with that.
Okay.
Let's see. I'll let you do these.
Oh, yeah, these are age unit ventilators. These are mostly located in the hallways or the vestibules because we did do the upgrade that took care of all the classroom and all the other spaces. These were items that were carried over from a couple different facilities, assessments we've done over the years. It's just something to keep our eye on. We maintain them, change the motors, but at some point we're going to look to replace them. A lot of them
They're working.
are original.
We don't suggest we replace them now, but they're 30 years old, and we would be remiss if we didn't just want everyone to know that we have some really old stuff that could cause us some trouble.
Down the road, yeah.
Okay, here's a fun one.
Okay.
This one, just, very briefly, we've been talking this year, our playgrounds do not have a lot of handicapped accessible equipment for our children. They're not as inclusive as they could be. We do have a few swings on each area of our large playgrounds that children, with handicap needs can access, but we are looking to increase some of our play equipment that can be interactive for both children with special handicap needs and children without. So we've identified a few pieces of equipment that would be great to put on our playgrounds that all children could play together and enjoy.
All right. Yeah, this is for our elevator that services our kitchen. So a lot of people are always surprised when we say we have an elevator in Beecher Road School because it feels like one large level. But in our 97 renovation, our basement area with our walk-in freezer for the kitchen and a lot of our custodial supplies and equipment is stored in the basement. So we use the elevator multiple times daily. We've had the recommendation for a while now to look into an upgrade to it. We've done minor things, we replaced boards, but recently, I had some more correspondence with our company, and they were also saying, try to plan for it as soon as possible, because you're at the point now where once things start going, you're going to have prolonged outages, and it's possible they won't be able to repair it because the parts are no longer made, much like the fire panel.
I think I was on that building committee, and I never heard of the elevator. So I'm flabbergasted, but yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And again, it's working. We're not having tons of calls that make us think, it's imminent. But we just would be remiss if we didn't let everyone know that it is something that's kind of looming out there in the future that we just would need to plan for.
Our food service staff use it daily to transport food up and down.
Right.
So for 3 years.
I'm sorry.
Ascension 2000, it's called.
The elevator manufacturer, it's not a Kone, it's not an Otis.
No, I'd
Just
have
curious,
to, the Ascension 2000, I forget the brand name, I know they're out of business though, this was one of their final models.
I'm asking you, they keep changing, they keep,
No,
The elevator's going to the
they get
historical
bought out, they
society,
get bought out.
along with the fire panel.
Ironically, that was one of our problems when I was trying to shop around for different elevator
I was
companies.
just curious.
They all were pointing us to our current
Texts
company.
come out, they're like, oh, looky here, I haven't seen one of these, that kind of thing.
Maybe we
So-
should donate it to the Smithsonian. Yeah.
It's not a point of
We've
pride.
taken obviously good care that it has made it longer than any other Ascension 2000 in the state, so.
Go ahead.
There's 3 years of funding you're looking for, is it
Just
something that
kind
can be
of
done?
the concept of if the town were agreeable to just kind of put away like a sinking fund almost, just to kind of plan for it, and then when
Or replace
we need it, yeah, or it's actually, you're just replacing the guts. I think the car
Yeah,
is
the
still
car
the
will,
same.
the car will stay the
but-
same. This is all the wiring and
Yeah.
the control
You know, the
boards.
stuff that makes it go up and
Yeah.
down.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. And then our space planning project,
This is the unknown page.
right, last year we had given some like numbers in the out years, just kind of big, to be determined kind of numbers. But this year we kind of revised when we came to you recently, and we came to the understanding that it would be a good idea for the Board of Ed to begin with phases 1 and 2 of the Construction Solutions Group proposal. We have done that, and then in this request, we have put in next year some funds for an estimated feasibility study, and then phases 3 through 5 of that proposal from Construction Solutions Group. And then we kind of just left the out years as to be determined, because it's pretty hard to estimate when what we're considering is, you know, everything from nothing to reorganizing to building a story to the pool to the everything. So we just, kind of hard to put numbers when we don't know what we're doing yet, so. So, yeah, those are all our capital requests that we want to consider over the next 6 years, and
Just to bring your attention to that, the building is large and it needs attention in a variety of areas.
Any questions?
I have a question about the already approved bonding for the site improvements. Are those being done in consideration of projected precipitation and climate-related changes in rainfall, in intensity and in quantity?
I would say we're definitely increasing the amount of drains and vegetation on the hills, and Preston O'Neill is, you know, definitely a leader in the state in planning those types of things.
Yeah, I would have those conversations because...
Are you asking if they're acknowledging that it's raining a lot more?
Well, it is.
Yeah,
And the rain
yes.
is falling in more intense events.
I think they
and
have a
that
very
is
good idea that
only
that's what's happening in our
going to
building
continue.
area.
So-
Yeah, they've seen it at its worst.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I don't think we've seen the worst yet. So
No, but they've
just
seen very
planning.
good. Good point, great point.
Other questions, thoughts on the capital side? Thank you. Let's move to the operations side.
Thank you, Vito.
Thank you, Vito, very
Your
much.
young
Thank you,
family.
Vito.
Is this one you want projected, or you just want to talk through it?
Oh, that's however you wanted to do it. Your presentation, up to you. And if you have bells and whistles and you want to.
Well, we have the
It's just, it's for the
just
people at
PowerPoint.
home, you know, that would
It's-
not
it's-
see.
Your choice.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. We'll try. We came in earlier in practice to make sure that this would work. There's no guarantee that this will work. We did try.
Is it on? I don't see anything.
I do believe the projector might just need to open up. Okay.
We used it last night. The
That-
buyers used it last night, so.
Yes, it should work fine. It worked fine this afternoon. Allison and Gay were in here.
I can do that. Okay. The least technological person said, I could
Let's
do
do
that.
it.
Lynn, are you gonna be our clicker?
Well, you told me how to be a clicker, I'm gonna be a clicker.
That's wonderful. I think it's right here,
So this part of it, please.
and I think you're just gonna do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lights.
Okay. I think you may need, are the lights
I'm
behind
sorry,
you?
Dwight and Donovan, if you feel like that's impeding on your.
Oh, that's probably good. Okay. Okay, it took us a few stages to get to a Board of Education approved budget. I don't know if, Stephen, did you want to say a few words about that?
Yeah, I will just say we instituted a new process this year with our new superintendent and with Donna, who is also, we would consider new at that point, to ensure there was greater opportunity for board input. We're of course facing a time constraint. The first 6 weeks of every school year are about building classroom communities. Teachers are not available to do anything else but that. So really, the budget process internally can only begin at the beginning of October, with the superintendent, the school administration reaching out to teachers to begin to think about what needs are going to be for the subsequent year. Of course, we then face the constraint of having an early January deadline for delivering a budget to the town of Woodbridge. So just planting the seed, a little later deadline wouldn't hurt. So that said, there absolutely was board feedback that we wanted more opportunities to interact with the budget, to really think it through, be able to respond, ask questions, and get feedback. And Vonda and Donna did a fantastic job this year of really creating that opportunity. So basically, this involved adding special meetings around our regular board meetings to ensure multiple touch points. An initial presentation of the budget before our December board meeting, further discussion at our board meeting and the responses to questions, and then 2 meetings scheduled in early January to both continue to refine the budget and to vote to approve it and move it forward to the town. It worked extremely well, and I'll just say though, frankly, it started with a fantastic budget from Vonda and Donna that really reflected the needs of the school, but improvements we need to make while being fiscally responsible, we believe as a board, for the town.
Thank you.
In our opening slide, I'm not going to dwell on some of these, but the fact is that when you see the children, that is our main focus, teaching and learning. The fact that we appreciate our teachers and safety, those are our utmost priorities that I feel very strongly about. When we think about our mission and vision, we have a huge responsibility, and the board was very ambitious in their vision. This winter, we revisited our vision, and they flat out supported the fact that our overall job here is to empower and inspire future leaders who will positively impact our world. That is our bottom line. We will have children leave Beecher Road School who are able, and already are, in many ways positively impacting our world. And our budget that we are presenting to you is designed to support that work. We do have a strategic plan, and again, I'm not going to go through all of this, but our strategic plan hits facets of this work around curriculum, research-based curriculum, inquiry, developing individuality and appreciation of diversity, project-based learning, which promotes conversation and critical thinking. All of this goes back to that very ambitious vision of preparing children who can change the world. And I bring this to you to remind you that one of the reasons we have a strategic plan, in this case this evening, is bullet number 3. It informs the use and allocation of our resources. So for us, it does a lot of other things. It's that constant lens of how is this decision moving forward our work. But for us here tonight, it's to help you understand how the choices that we made that go into this budget support our vision and mission. So we do have a lot of success and celebration at Beecher Road School. It's not all academic. These are hands trying to grab the confetti that was a part of our Apple Distinguished Award. You can see the joy. You can see the, just the pure exuberance. There's a lot about Beecher Road School that involves the arts, music, creative programming, MAG, so much. Professional learning, the PTO is a partnership. There's just an awful lot that makes this truly a very unique, it is a gem. I've been in a lot of districts over a lot of years. I have never seen anything like this district and the staff that is in it, ever. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here. Did you skip our drivers or no? Is it
I skipped.
Oh, that's okay. Well, we have drivers. We have facets that drive our budget. These are all of the things that drive a budget. You've probably heard, I believe you've already heard Jen Byers present hers. There's the same budget drivers, contractual obligations, the same services, our strategic plan, enrollment. Just a reminder that our enrollment has a very high migration aspect, and that driver does impact some of the decisions that are in our budget. Some of these are kind of like non-negotiable. Thank you. I talk to you every month when I come to you about enrollment, but there's a few things that I don't say to you long-term. We use a few different enrollment trend projections. We receive them as updates. I received an updated one in November. Peter Prouda does enrollment projections for many, many districts. In this enrollment projection, you're going to see a few things that I'll just highlight for you. One is that from 2021 to 2032, that is experiencing probably a 17% increase in enrollment over the span of those bars. That's a pretty significant enrollment. And the fact is, if you read, and I can certainly provide it again to anybody who wants it, our Prouder projections show that Woodbridge is growing in enrollment while the rest of the state is declining. This is a district where parents with young children are moving. And that's a fact. And I just offer also that within the last 10 years, the pre-K population to 6 in our district has grown almost 14%. In the state, the pattern is a decrease of 8%. So while other districts are decreasing, we are increasing. It is a blessing and a celebration of what we are.
That's public school enrollment, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Because everybody was stuck at home during COVID, what else were they gonna do?
Okay. I like to think it's our education.
Well, you're the beneficiary. There you go.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to just point out is that when you look at 2020, 2032, 33, that enrollment approaches a number. The last time our district saw that number was in about 1972. And the educational needs were far different in 1972. We did not have the class number suggested guidelines that we have. We did not have the number of special education students with specific needs that need programming in small groups. We did not have state requirements for small group, scientifically research-based instruction, SRBI, MTSS, whatever we want to call it. We have requirements now where we need to pull children who are struggling and/or need enrichment and work with them. Those all require alternate learning spaces. So in 1972, those things did not exist. So our numbers are going to hit where we were. Yes, we have those numbers. Our needs are different. Okay, thank you, Lynn. Special education, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but there are some celebrations here that I just want to highlight, because last year I sat before you, I think I had about 3 weeks under my belt, and, you know, tried to get you to support an additional assistant principal. And I've never, as an administrator, asked for another administrator ever in a budget. And I did, and you supported it. And I want you to know that it's really helpful to us. And one small indicator of success is when you look at our special education number of referrals and evaluations. With that assistant principal, it has allowed all of our administrators, including our director of pupil services, to get into programs, to look at efficiencies, to look at ideas, to offer curricular suggestions and new programs that they're trying. So when you look at 80 referrals this year to this point in early December, not all of them have gone on to require a specific diagnosis and therefore commensurate evaluations. Many of them we've discovered can be addressed through SRBI and alternative services. So it's having those extra hands on deck that can help us see that sometimes the best thing for a child may not be an identification, but some additional resources and support. So when you look at prior years, you know, you'll see numbers of referrals and then large numbers of commensurate evaluations and PPTs. So we feel very good about that. That is a success for us and a thank you. I also show you this because last year I also asked that you increase our multi-language learner from half to full. And you can see that our bar has grown to close to 50 multi-language learners. Last year it was approximately 40. And while you might think, oh, you know, maybe 10 more students, we are really diverse. And sometimes it hurts my heart to hear maybe people say that we're not. I just want you to know, we have over 16 different languages spoken in our school by students. And for each one of those 16 different languages, and they are very different languages, the range is from 2 to 12 children speak those languages. So for all 16 or 17 of those languages, we have multiple children speaking them. Our multi-language learner teacher is working hard, as are our classroom teachers, working hard to help literacy acquisition, especially at the younger level. Right now, predominantly, we have the largest growth in second grade with that. Okay, this chart, it happens to be one that we really like. I'm just going to hit on the changes. So if you're wondering what is different in this budget than previous budgets, last year we had a number, we agreed on it. In the summer we decided we needed another section based on enrollment. We added another teacher. We did not need to come back to the town and ask for additional funds. We repurposed staff and it's been very successful. So we really don't budget for extra. This year, we know we have a 6th grade section rolling off. We have 7, we know that next year we'll need 6. So that is a way that we can create a STEAM teacher position and bring it back into the budget. It used to be there, it was cut. We can bring that back and have really a net impact on our budget. It won't necessarily be a 6th grade teacher, but it would be reconstruction of staff, somebody in there. So this shows the reduction of one section, but the addition of a STEAM. The other thing that you'll see in here is that we did, last year I think we reduced 4 paraeducators based on need. This year we were able to reduce additional 2. Again, through some of our efficiencies, some of our ability to study, and we also had one of the children roll off into a different school setting, so that para is not needed. So we can reduce that position but still keep the person and put them in an open position. And then the last very small percentage of a increase.
Yeah, we're requesting 10 additional hours in the business office. Being really direct, we were just having a hard time paying our bills and things on time. We used to have an amazing staff person who worked part-time, who could do the work of 2 people in 20 hours a week, but we're...
But prior to that, it was full-time.
And prior to that, yes, it was full-time. And what at the point in time that it was cut was during COVID, and field trips weren't happening, and professional development teachers weren't going out of the classroom to classes and things like that. And now that those things are back to their pre-COVID activities, again, it's just a lot of extra work that mere mortals cannot maintain with.
It's the right work, it's good work, but it's back.
Yeah, so that would be a request that we have this year, an extra 10 hours per week.
Thank you.
Moving to our pie side, this is very similar to prior years. I think that, just the top line here is that 82% of this budget goes to the salary and benefits of our staff. We'll go one more.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to. Okay.
What's happening?
There we go. Some of the areas, so we have a little good news, bad news here. The insurance, talking with our broker and everything, we built a 9% increase for our health insurance. The good news is, with the town, we are going out to market, and we don't have all the bids yet, but we do think we're going to do better than that, which would maybe give us some room for some savings. Now, maybe the bad news is we know of some planned retirements or turnover, and I just know, seeing that those staff happen to be not taking our insurance. So I know that there may be new hires coming on board that would take our insurance, that would, perhaps eat up some of that. And we haven't gotten to the utilities slide yet, but just a little preview of something that's coming is, we didn't have great communication. We weren't planning on the pool being open next year. We heard that when the pool was filled, there was 20 leaks, and we thought, so the pool was drained right away. But guess what? We've got water in our pool now, and I don't know the long and short of it, but it's still in there, so it seems to be filtering. So the natural gas and the electricity that it costs to heat that water and run those filters might be some additional $40,000 that's not in this budget. So something that when we do get, if we do get a better insurance break, we, you know, bad news is maybe we already have some plans for some of that break, so. Next year will be the 5th and final year of our transportation contract, so we'll be bidding that out next year, but it is nice to know. We don't think that we're gonna have to go up a bus next year, the buses are full, but we do think we're gonna be able to keep the same level of busing for next year.
Maybe not the following year.
Yeah, you can go to the utilities trend, yeah. So, you know, again, this is a lot of information, I could go into really deep detail, but here's the last 8 years of our utilities, and both 20 and 21 were affected by COVID. Both had a couple months where the building wasn't, you know, have everybody in it. 22 was a pretty normal year, but since then we've had some rate changes. We got out of our great gas deal, and our electricity is going to be going up, and our rate will be going up next year. 23, look, these are actuals, everything through 23. You know, we had the pool closed half the year. It sure made a difference in our utilities. And so 24, we budgeted as if the pool would be open, but it wasn't open. So we're going to come in better than this, our actuals for 24. But again, I planned 25, not anticipating that the pool would be open. So my quick analysis today is, you know, I think we're probably between $30,000 and $40,000 short of what if the pool is running all of next year, what I think our utilities actually will be. Okay. So if you take our last year's, where we started out, our last year's budget, or the year that we're living in, you know, you can kind of see the various categories of the increases and decreases. I will just point out a few things that maybe look odd. The tuition, special education tuition line, we're not really going to have less tuition next year. There's an expense for board certified behavioral analysts that has always been in that line, and it's been confusing to me and some other people, so we decided to move it for this year. Will be in our contractual services line, so that appears like that's a decrease, but it really isn't. It's just moved to another line. But interestingly enough, you won't really feel it in that line, because that is the line that Officer Lynch used to be paid to the town and so the net of those two, you know, Officer Lynch is coming out and the BCBA expenses going in, you won't really feel it there. But anyway, you know, the net of all these increases and decreases comes up to, you know, $662,000 or 3.89%. These are the types of things we use our grants for. The title grants, every district gets. You don't have to apply for them or do anything. You know, the message we just want to communicate here is that, you know, we're not using our grants for fluff. We're using them for teachers and people and things that, you know, we need, and this is really lightening the load on the general fund and hence the town. So yeah, we wrap it all up here with, here's our requested budget of $17,679,200, which is a 3.89% increase over the prior year. But when you take into account that 82% of this budget went up 6.5%, then that obviously means that we made some cuts other places to come in at 3.89. And some of those savings are the school resource officer, which we now employ directly, and so we don't pay for his pension or things like that, health care. And so we feel bad because now the chief doesn't have his overtime available to him. So, you know, but anyway, if it's saving you guys, if it's saving the town in our line, maybe you can use it for the chief. And then again, the reduction of 2 paraeducators through the efficiencies created by the Special Education Administration. And then again, we did, some of that savings is budgeting less on utilities with the perhaps faulty assumption that there wouldn't be the pool. So again, we think we probably have some additional savings coming when this insurance comes through in a couple weeks. But just, we also know that perhaps with future hirings and the utilities, some of that will probably get used up. So but hopefully we'll still be in good shape from there.
And the board reviewed it and approved it as stands. They didn't make any additions or reductions. They felt it was very appropriate.
Great,
And then
thank you.
there's just one more quick slide, which I think is important, and that is, when you look at this, the history, you can see our last year's percent, and you look at this year's percent, it does go up a little bit, but we did just want to point out that this particular year, there's very little in there other than the fact that this is the first year of a new teacher's contract. So there were increases there.
And we know what inflation has been, quite high, so I think it's really did our best to, respect the taxpayer, as we say.
All set?
We are.
Okay, questions? Anybody want to read?
Do you know what the participation rate is for benefits among Woodbridge Board of Ed personnel?
I don't have the participation rate. I could look it up and email
I'm just
it to you.
curious because with the expected, retirements
Mhm.
and cycling, I'm wondering how much of our staff is currently using those benefits and whether we could be really impacted or maybe even benefit the other way. It's just.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, normally if you have some retirements, you're like, oh, I'm probably, losing a teacher with 20 years experience and I'm gonna get to hire a new one, so you think you're gonna have some savings, but teaching is such a shortage area now. Sometimes you just have to get what you can get, and they might have a lot of experience, and you can't count on that little savings for each teacher that retires like you used to be able to.
And the other piece that we discovered was that this year, the teachers that maybe have left us didn't take our insurance. They took a waiver, which is much less.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee, as we're learning, that, the teachers that we hire, we can't ask them, are you gonna take family? They end up taking advantage of something that perhaps somebody else forego, and surprise, there goes a chunk of savings. But we still want the best teacher, benefits or not.
Other questions?
I just wanted to thank you, as always, for your thorough work. I noticed that you've got a few things in here that perhaps pertain to potential shared services. I know you talked about like bookkeeping and sort of non-educational pieces. Have you been able to find any successes trying to either share services with the town? I know we had that arrangement at one point, or Amity, or is there anything to explore there?
We have been, the BOA superintendents have been talking, I know the special ed directors are talking about possible ways, and they have been finding some small savings with shared services for transportation for children to outplaced institutions.
And that's a big savings.
That is a
actually.
huge savings. It sounds like small for 1 or 2 children maybe, but it can be significant. And we have, tried to explore a variety of, like we have no HR, we are the HR, who might be able to help us with that. Everybody's struggling with that, and it's just the needs are very, very, they're different. So we talk about it all the time.
But ultimately, somebody's gonna have to change their finance system or something, And it's hard to share with a region because they're,
Right. We've asked, hey, we're short a part-time site. Do you have a part-time site that we could, because I came from a regional district where that happens. It just so happens that some of our shortage areas are also theirs, which makes sense because if it's a shortage area, it's a shortage if there aren't any.
So that longer-term planning on how we might be able to share services, that's maybe something we can take to our delegation in Hartford to talk about. If they want us to share services, we need funding.
Is there an ad hoc committee for that?
On our,
Yeah.
There had been at one time at Amity, but I don't think it's active now.
it really needs to be tried.
But thank you for continuing to explain.
Thank you, Sheila. You're always a good supporter of what we're doing.
Other questions? It's a lot to take in.
I know it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If any questions, you can certainly
Email us if you think of things that you don't think of at the
One
moment.
last one, do you have any ballpark of what the impact would be for adding a bus in
Yeah,
in
a
coming
bus
years?
next year would be about $68,000.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. We have wonderful people on our
We
team.
do.
That's always a response, that's never a problem.
Thank you.
Thank our board members and Vito for coming and staying.
Okay, we're gonna move on with our agenda, and as it turns out, the Conservation Commission, Economic Development, and WGATV presentations are all gonna be done by Tony.
Thank you.
You're starting with Conservation, I
Yeah,
assume?
there's really not much difference in either the Conservation Commission or the Economic Development Commission for the requested budget. Due to some of the turnover, some of the boards, both boards, these are sort of just status quo on budgets in terms of similar to the prior year. So there's not really much change
Okay.
here.
Okay.
Tony, can you help me understand what the nature of the expenditures are
For
for
the
Conservation Commission?
Sure, yeah. So the Conservation Commission has a clerk that takes minutes. So that's the that's the first line. So when she takes minutes, we pay the clerk to take minutes. The third line was requested for trail signs, other miscellaneous, they're called boot brushes. Yep. So those are the two things that were requested, and so we just kept those in there because for the current year.
Thank you.
Okay. For economic development, it's mostly printing and information for there's some money for conferences, there's some marketing for local events, for printing and binding. That's pretty much the majority of that.
There are some state programs that are available to us for no charge this year that will help us in terms of the Economic Development Commission, which will save us in terms of some of the professional development conferences and things of that nature. So we'll benefit from that as well.
And government access television.
Government access television has increases in part-time, all other, and general professional services. Those are generally for the coordinator for government access television and the cameras for government access television. Those are the first top two lines. And there's an increase there because of a desire to have more programming recorded and televised on WGA-TV.
We don't record all of our commissions at this point in time, and there are a number of commissions that I hope to play a larger role in terms of what we do on an ongoing basis. And to that end, I'd like the public to be more engaged in that and be more aware of what we're doing. And so to that end, our organization, the Public Access Television Organization, has said they're in a position to do more recording. And this reflects what we're looking to do as far as that's concerned. Looks like a big number in terms of increase, but the dollar value, fortunately, isn't as significant as some of the others.
Okay, any questions about any one of those? Conservation Commission, Economic Development, or WGATV.
I have a quick question about the government access. Tony, there is some funding that comes in, but that's seen over on the revenue side of the budget?
Correct. We usually take that in on the revenue side of the budget. Do you remember how much it was this year? The grant?
I don't have the number right on top of my head, unfortunately. It was a 5-digit value, I do remember.
$25,000?
Well, don't guess,
It
find
was-
out what it is and then tell us.
Yeah, and that's generally for equipment rather than staff, or? do you
It's
use-
for a little bit of everything, mostly equipment, and which we had some technical issues tonight, of which we may need to use some of that grant money.
Did you do that on purpose, by the way?
No, we didn't. Completely unintentional, I
Timing was
assure you.
unbelievable, okay.
Completely unintentional.
I'd also just add that the Economic Development Commission and GATV has had some challenges with regards to membership.
Right.
And participation in meetings. So I do expect that we will have nominations for appointment nominations for our February meeting for both EDC and for GATV, as well as, I think there was one more, Sperry Park, we have talked about that one, so.
That's on the Board of Selectmen. Okay. Anything else, Board of Finance? Any other questions, thoughts, concerns? All right, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Rex, yes, a couple of times now. The gentleman, the consultant from Rex, in terms of what he can, identifying exactly what he can provide